I mentioned earlier that we're also involved in Colombia. Again, they have a tax rate on an NSR of 4% and a 33% net profit tax rate. So again, very similar to the other jurisdictions we're operating in and similar to the Philippines, which I think countries have learned is a pretty fair tax rate for both the mining company and for the country itself. It's a joint venture with Anglo Gold. They're a big operation. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of them, out of South Africa. We own 49% of the project. They own 51%. It's got about 2.5 million ounces in reserves, right, in resource. We haven't completed the feasibility, so it can't be reserves. It's a bit lower grade than we'd like to see at 0.81 grams, but it's got excellent metallurgical characteristics, which really make a difference at this project. You can float the ore at this project, even at a coarse grind, and the recoveries, once you then leach that, the float, are close to 96%. So with that kind of recovery and that easy of a processing system, it makes the your processing costs quite cheap. And it actually, our belief is that it will be a mine one day. Again, it's the pre-feasibility study should be coming out in the next month or two. At that point, we'll assess whether we want to go to feasibility now or whether we want to wait. Our belief is that it will be a mine someday. But the current gold price is certainly, putting a curtailment in expansion for most companies, and we're having to think about what we're going to do there going forward. CSR activities, our total global budget this year is $13 million for B2 Gold, which is a pretty substantial amount when you think that our net cash flows for the year is only going to be about $120 million, so over 10% of our budget is going towards CSR, and I think that just shows a strong belief of our company in giving back to the community and trying to invest it in the best way possible. Our growth strategy for the future is to continue to optimize production at our current mines through exploration as well as the expansion. Limon has actually had about 3 different expansions to it, all minor tweaks that have helped increase throughput rates by about 40% over the last few years. And as I mentioned earlier, we'll be looking at Masbate to see if there's a way we can increase production there that makes economic sense for everyone. We're currently building the Otjikoto mine. That will account for a big jump in our production in 2015. The mine should start up in the 4th quarter of 2014. And of course the Gramalote project, which, we've got it slated for 2018, but it needs more work before we really feel comfortable with saying that it is in our future plans. We'll continue though, and we are now looking at other acquisitions. It's something we never stop doing, whether the gold price is high or whether it's low. There's always opportunities out there. Interesting enough, with the low gold price, we're seeing a lot more opportunities now than what there were with higher gold prices. There are a lot of junior companies that have found or made some good discoveries, but they're unable to continue to raise funds to move those projects forward, and especially larger projects that they will be unable to finance. So we're having a hard look at quite a few different companies right now to see if they meet our investment criteria. Being a mid-tier producer, we do have good access to future funding and projects. We did raise $250 million in September through a convertible note, and we believe that if we found a really good project in the future that we wanted to construct, we would have access to more capital markets. And now for my view on the gold market. The only thing I can say with certainty is that I'll be wrong. I don't think anybody can predict where gold is going. Anybody who says they can, I think they're setting themselves up for failure. I do think the negative that we've seen in the markets this year does relate to the potential recovery in the US. And the reason for that is that gold is an investment, and it doesn't really pay you a return on you can't put it in the bank and collect interest on it. Unfortunately, right now, interest rates are so low, so even if you put cash in the bank, you're not collecting much interest. But that actually is good for gold because people are then willing to diversify their portfolio, and gold is always I think of it as being insurance, frankly, that, you know, everybody has insurance on their car in case they make a mistake. And gold is a good insurance in case the US makes a mistake and their currency drops, or some other country that you hold your currency in makes a mistake. So I'm a strong believer that people should invest, you know, 5 to 10% of their economic wealth in gold, either in gold mining companies or in gold as insurance, because you just don't know what the future holds. Certainly right now, I can't say that I'm bullish gold. I'm thinking that the price we're seeing these days of around 1,300 is probably here to stay for the next couple of years. We may see it, you know, the odd time bounce up over 1,400, and I'm sure we'll see it drop below 1,200 at some point. Well, I shouldn't say I'm sure, but that wouldn't surprise me. But in the long term, one thing that we've really seen is that the costs of investing and operating in the gold mining industry have gone way up. And a lot of operations now, their all-in sustaining capital, or their all-in sustaining cash costs are around $1,300 an ounce. So that means at current gold prices, they're not making any money. And that's why you've seen a lot of large companies put projects on hold or defer the construction that they started on these projects. And I read something the other day that one of the analysts from one of the large global banks is projecting that gold production will actually drop by 25% over the next few years because of this lack of new projects coming on stream, and also because other projects being shut down. Certainly if that happens, I would think we're going to see an uptick in gold. And you know, you never know, there could be a black swan event at any time that would cause gold to rocket skyward again. So I think long term, I think everybody should own some. I know obviously I'm heavily invested in B2 Gold, but I also do hold some gold ounces in my safety deposit box, if no other reason that I like to look at it. You know, you know, it's always funny, you show someone an ounce of gold and they always get excited by looking at it, and it's something that's gone back in history of mankind for over 2,000 years. For whatever reason, humans like to look at shiny stuff. Certainly gold is, I think, something that we all like to hold, and I think everybody should have some. So thank you for listening. I don't know if there are any questions. Be happy to answer them.
Thank you very much, Mark. When you talked about a VAT refund, someone at my table leaned over and said, "What's a tax refund?" And I said, well, in our local dictionary, it's a physiogeological term. It means drawing blood from stone. Before we go to our Q&A, I want to highlight a couple of things. The Philippine Mining Club, which holds these Philippine Mining Club luncheons, is closely associated with the globally acknowledged Melbourne Mining Club, which is represented here today by its co-founder, Gavin Collery. Is Gavin in the room? Yeah? Oh, there you are. Yeah. On November the 1st, I understand the Melbourne Mining Club will visit Beijing, where the guest speakers are the CEOs of Rio Tinto and Chinalco, or Chinalco. Okay. Are we invited? Yeah, okay. I wonder if they'll give us visas. Those of you who are watching us, don't forget on that camera that we take Twitter questions and comments at Philippine Mining Club, and we will telecast the luncheon live at www.philippineminingclub.nowplanet.tv on the webcam. So we have a few minutes for questions. Just make sure that when you ask the question, please stand up and identify yourself, and please provide us your affiliation. So, do we have any questions for Mark? I see Jimmy of SGV. Jimmy, come over to this mic. Yeah. Oh, there's a mic coming over to you. Yeah, thanks.
Hi, Mark.
Hi, Hi, Jimmy.
My name is Jimmy Del Rosario from Cisco Company. And our company, our